Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we bring you the politics, the pedagogy, and the practices that make up public education. Now, we have had many weeks of lots of public ed politics. We have talked a lot about the impact that COVID has had on us and our schools and us as families, us as educators. And so I thought I would spend time today bringing some resources to help keep us positive. And one of those resources actually reached out to me recently and asked if she could come on and talk about her second book. So Neetu Rishi was on before, and without further ado, let's go ahead and bring her on. Neetu, welcome back.
Thank you, Dr. Good. Thank you.
You joined us a couple of years ago when your first book, A Different Monday, came out. And, you know, that's always exciting. I know how hard it is, having written a couple of books myself. It took me literally years to get that first book done. And so I always ask new authors, you know, gosh, what strategies, what did you do, right? And so I remember you and I talked about that. And I loved the premise of your first book, which was to put a different spin on that dreaded day of Monday. And
Yes.
so how neat it is that you have now, you said a sequel, but it could stand alone, a second book.
Yes.
So I think first, though, let's talk about that Different Monday. Just give me a 2-minute synopsis of that so that if people want to tap into that, we're going to provide the link for that should
Sure.
they want to look at it.
Thank you, Dr. Good, for having me. And thank you to all the listeners who are here. Now, my first book, A Different Monday, we all fight with Monday blues, starting from school to college. Even when we grow up as an adult, I'm sure at this age, even when we have to go to work, oh no, it's Monday. That's the feeling that we have. And we become so habitual with that we think it is a part of our life. It is a universal fact which cannot be changed. Whereas it is not like that. It's all about the mindset. So my first book, that's the book, A Different Monday. It talks about how to fight with those Monday blues. And it is in the form of a very engaging story of a mother and a daughter where the daughter, when she completes her undergrad program, as soon as she completes and she starts her professional life, the mother decides, I am going to teach you all the life lessons that I learned in a hard way. So she teaches her in the form of stories, and each story comes with a life lesson. So there are 26 life lessons in the first book, which is A Different Monday.
Well, good. And so I hope it's done well. I hope that you have been able to get before lots of audiences and kids, and especially during COVID, right?
Yes, exactly. In fact, this book has become a part of a curriculum because there are short stories, and they are so in such a simplified language. My students in my programs, they enjoy reading it because they implement those lessons in that curriculum of entrepreneurship. So I think it is creating an impact.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. So now let's talk about your second book. It's called I Am Unstoppable. I love the title already. Tell us a little bit. First, tell me, you know, I'm always curious, where did you get the idea for it? You know, what were you dreaming? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think there are a few things which definitely we dream and we think, okay, let's convert it into in the form of a book or a movie. That's how creative people like me and you are, right? The idea pops up and we want to do it. But practically that doesn't work. Writing a book definitely, as you know, is not that easy. The idea might sound exciting, but the after work takes a lot of hard work, consistency, persistence, and all that. So now my second book, as I said, it's the sequel of the first book, but it can be read independently. Now this takes back to, again, the professional life. Now, when I started my professional life, even though having a good degree and education, but when I joined my workplace, my boss was like 20 years younger than me. Nobody taught me how to deal with that. Or if there is office, we do have that work politics going on. There's always a teaming happening, and then there's a blaming thing. Nobody wants to take the ownership. So I faced all those challenges. And then I used to hear the stories because I'm a storyteller. I love to connect with people through stories. When I heard their corporate stories, how they came out of that, I thought this is something which really needs to be addressed, though there are millions and billions of books out in the world on that, which we call intrapreneurship. And then because the second book is a COVID baby, we have seen that there were so many people who lost their jobs. Now, who were the ones who were retained? The best ones. That means I thought, let me share some principles which I might have applied, and I've heard from other people. They have been successfully applying that in their life, and they were able to be in the topmost ladder in the corporate life. So that's in the second book. So it comes with, I call them 10 magic formulas.
Okay.
Again, the character is the same, which was in the first book. So now we are showing that girl who starts her professional life. What are the challenges that she faces in her life, how she overcomes, and how she tries to make it a magic formula for her lifestyle. So that's in the second book.
Okay. So give us a few hints, because we do have kids who are going on, graduating high school, graduating college. And so give a few hints about what are some steps that they should be implementing to already start becoming that ladder type of professional.
Okay, so let's pick one out of one magic formula, which I call VMR, which is virtual mental rehearsal. Now, when kids, they go to either high school or the college, not many kids, not many people find that one person who they want to share their heart with sometimes, especially when they are stressed out. It's so difficult to manage between your work, with your life, with your extracurricular, with your passions, with your so much of commitments, because we as humans don't like to say no to anything. So we keep on saying yes, due to which we get overcommitted, right? We get overcommitted. I myself sometimes, but now I've learned that maybe saying a no because it is required. So now for that, the people, they fall in that trap and they don't know what to do. And which leaves them either depressed, stressed out, the productivity comes to zero. So in this, I have shared a virtual mental rehearsal, which goes with that. If there's nobody to clap for you, clap for yourself. Because when I hear people, oh, I'm following my passion, I'm doing this, but I'm not finding any output. I started this podcast, there are no listeners. I wrote this book, nobody is buying my book. I start this YouTube channel, there are no subscribers. So for motivation of that consistency, you need to clap for yourself. So it is, I've shared in this book a virtual mental rehearsal. That means every morning, the first 3 minutes of the day when your subconscious mind is most active, talk to yourself. Give yourself a pep talk every day. Tell yourself, I'm a go-getter. My day is going to be the best. I am open to all the opportunities. I'm going to be most productive. Any lines that can work for you for a few minutes, and the affirmations. And if you keep on applying that when you are going on a stage to give a speech, when you're doing something new, when you're going to give an interview, that virtual mental rehearsal can actually pep up and work as wonder for you. So that's one magic formula which I've shared in this.
So am I hearing that you actually do that every morning? You get
I
up?
do it. It's been 10 years I've been doing that. I'm finding myself in a better place than yesterday.
Now, how do you get family members to do that?
The family members. So what happens in my family, because we are members, we are 4 people at my home, me, my husband, and my kids. So what I've done is I have made small affirmation decks on the refrigerator. So the first thing, at my home, everybody, I mean, most of the people, they go and grab some water. So it is a rule that they go, while they're drinking water, sip by sip. It is said that water should be, the first glass of water that you drink in the morning should be in a way that you are sipping wine, right? Take it sip by sip. So you are going to spend mostly 3 minutes. So I tell them, while you are drinking water, read those affirmations. If you can't, read them loudly, just read them out. So it is a matter of habits. I follow that formula again, 21/90. If you follow a habit, follow anything for 21 days, it becomes a habit. And follow it for 90 days, it becomes your lifestyle. So I make sure that my family does it. And then I also ask them to share it with their friends. Tell them, this is what I do, and let them experiment this. If it works for them as well. So that's how it spreads. The more they tell other people, the more they feel committed to do it on their own as well. So that's how I make my family do it.
And do you feel, would they admit that maybe they do feel different, stronger, more positive because of that?
The first few days when we started this, anything that I start with my kids, the first few days they feel, oh, mom, we don't want to do it. Oh, mom, please, we are not your guinea pig. Don't experiment everything on us. I said, see, if I can create an impact on you, then only I can create an impact on other kids. It should not be that if I cannot deal with my kids, if my kids doesn't have leadership skills, and I go out to the world and say, I want to change the world, why would people trust me? So I tell them that you are going to contribute in my success. My success is not my alone. I need your support, and you are the ones who can help me. So then they say, okay, mom, let's do it. So the first few days, definitely they don't enjoy. But then by giving that little push, I call it hammering, you keep on reminding them to do it. Later on, when they see, oh, yes, mom, I told this to my friend. And the other day, my friend told me it worked wonder for me. So then they start getting more testimonials, and they start believing that, okay, what mom says is correct.
Yeah, and that is the tough part. You know, a lot of times kids need to hear it from somebody else, right?
Yes, that's why I tell them, teach others, and then it will come back to you. It comes as a reflection, and it becomes stronger, and then it becomes their lifestyle.
So how did your kids do during COVID? I mean, here you are, you've written a couple of positive books. How did your kids manage COVID?
For my kids, of course, I wanted them to be busy. So we made, again, there's another magic formula I've shared in the book, because during COVID, I was hearing this so much from people that when you're working online, you don't have that early morning rituals, maybe going for a walk. Everybody was just waking up lazy, starting with their laptop, taking the calls, replying to the emails, and then they were working throughout the day. In between, people were taking breaks, but then because the work did not complete by 8 p.m., even when there's family time, they are spending that time with their work in their office. So yeah, we all face that, but then we evolve out of it. So I discussed it with my family that let's do one thing. Let's divide our day into 4 different quadrants. The first quadrant will be me time. That means we will wake up and we'll get ready as we go to work. Because when you are in your PJs, you don't feel like working. And everybody agreed that yes. I said, okay, let's do this experiment for a week. We'll all get ready the way we are going to work or college or school, and we'll sit on our workstations as we are ready. They said, okay, let's try this. So that morning part, me time was taken care, where we were offering our gratitude or prayers, having breakfast, drinking water, going for a walk. Then after me time, I told them, okay, this is the time when we all are working. I am at my work, my husband is taking calls, kids are in their classes, online classes, finishing their assignments, everything. And then evening, we divided the third quadrant as called as our time. That means I'm not available for the world. No social media, no emails, no office, no nothing. We will spend time with each other and we'll talk to each other, share our stories. And you won't believe, I shared all my parents, my grandparents' stories with my kids because we had a lot of time. So that time, either go for a walk, take your pet for a walk, watch TV, or maybe just go on a drive. One day, my son says, Mom, this location is very beautiful. Let's just go and have a drive out of it. So we went there. So spending time was more important. And then lastly, again, me time, where we all sat together and reviewed what we did great today, what didn't go good, how can it be better. And that again became a magic formula which worked throughout the COVID. And I think we were most productive as compared to when we were doing in-person things.
Okay,
So,
that's nice.
discipline, if you follow that discipline, I think it's easy.
Well, you're probably one of the few families that can speak to the whole family quickly becoming structured around the COVID. But of course, you'd had all those strategies already bubbling in your head and already in one book. So good for you. That's something to be very proud of. Well, so what else can you tell us about the book? Our time is winding down already together.
Mm-hmm.
What else can you tell me about the book that maybe I didn't ask you about?
Okay, so about the book, of course, the readers would be thinking, "Well, why should we read this book? There are so many books which has got, which are called as best-selling authors. So why should we invest in this book?" That is the question which everybody thinks. So for that, I have an answer for the viewers. The book is in such a simplified language that even a fifth or sixth grader can read it, because I don't want them that, oh, it is so intellectual and I don't know what's the meaning of this word. I need to go and refer to a dictionary. I made it so simple language that even a fifth or sixth grader can read. So simplified language, I think, makes it easy for people to understand the things. That is one reason. The second reason, after every chapter, because what I realized, I am a great reader of nonfiction, self-help books. But what happens when I read the book, after some time, that motivation fades away, right? It's there. You get ignited. But after you keep the book on the shelf, you forget, right? And if you're in a situation, you can't follow what you learned from the book. So I thought, how can I make it something which they can implement in their life? So what I did was, after completing my whole book, when it was ready to be published, this idea popped up into my mind, and I delayed the deadline from 13th April to 5th September because I wanted to create an impact. So there are self-assessment exercises at the end of each chapter. That means as soon as you read the chapter, you don't have to jump to the second chapter. You first read those exercises, try to solve those, try to get answers to those questions. So if they do so, that will help them to make it a part of their lifestyle, so that whenever they face that challenge in their life, they know, oh, I read this book. Now I can actually solve this problem in my life and be better than others. So those are, I think, two reasons why would people should invest this in this book, and they can trust me because I've applied not only in my life, my family. I take care of kids through my organization, the Success Store, where I teach entrepreneurship. I've implemented it on all, and thankfully, I've always got good testimonials from them.
And so let me also compliment you on a word that I saw in your bio, that you're a passionpreneur.
Passionpreneur, yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, because I converted my passion was always working with kids, becoming a child like them, understanding their mindset, and accordingly, not teaching them what to think, but teaching them how to think. So that has always been loved by me. So when I moved to United States from my home country, I converted my passion into my profession. That's why I call myself a passionpreneur.
I love that. Well, thank you for being on. Make sure that you keep in contact with us. I bet there's another book in there bubbling somewhere.
Before I go, just wanted to let them know this book is available on Amazon, Kindle and paperback both. It's by the name I Am Unstoppable by Neetu Rishi, and that's the first book. I mean, this can be read independently, so you don't have to worry about it.
And they couldn't have come at better times. I mean, COVID has certainly caused a lot of extra family time, and also caused the need to become more structured and more disciplined as families. So thank you for that. And we look forward to seeing you again in the
Thank you, Dr. Good. Wonderful being with you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And so, gosh, anything to make the COVID period, COVID families stronger and healthier, both physically and mentally. That's part of my work. And so I hope you all enjoyed having Neetu with us again today. And this is a sort of special time in most of our school-age parents' lives and kids' lives, and that is that the first month of school is here. Most of us started school about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And so I thought it was time for a checklist, because, now that I'm retired, I have time to write these checklists. And so this is the first month in school checklist for parents. The first thing that I need for you to sort of reflect on, parents and grandparents, you can be bringing these questions to your kids who have kids. Have the teachers reached out at all? It's been 4 weeks. Has there been any email communication between you and the teacher? If the answer is yes, Well, that's great. That's fantastic. Matter of fact, if the answer is yes, and you feel really good about what's going on with your kids' teachers, then if you'll remember the other checklist, ways to keep your teachers happy all year, then you might pull that off the fridge, which is where I asked you to put it, and you can look at something that will make a teacher happy, right? You can send a little care package of a couple of brownies that you guys made, that the kids helped me make, something like that. A nice note, maybe a note from your kids after the first month of school. Hey, dear teacher, the first month of school was great. Thank you for blank, for whatever nice thing the teacher does or is doing. Signed. And remember, we talked about the fact that teachers tend to keep these personal notes. They have a little stash, and anytime they feel down, they'll go over and read their stash of positive things that kids have written them. So this would be really good timing for that special kind of note. And let's see. So if your teacher has not reached out, it's been 4 or 5 weeks, teacher has not reached out, this is a really good time for you to reach out to the teacher and maybe ask first, hey, teacher, how you doing? It's been 4 weeks of school. Everything okay? Is there anything that you need from us as parents? You have all the supplies you need. And, oh, by the way, how's my daughter, my son doing in your class? Right? It's just a nice, happy little email, support email. And hopefully that will begin the conversation between you and the teacher in a real positive way. Some reminders about this time of the beginning of the year. Normally, most schools have 6-week periods. And if you do have a 6-week period before the report card, then normally schools will send a progress report at the 3rd week. Usually you get it the 4th week because, that's 3 weeks worth of grades. And this is where the teachers are supposed to touch base with parents and alert them if the child is failing, especially because any good teacher understands that a teacher cannot fail a student at the end of the 6 weeks without having alerted the parents at the 3rd week and say, hey, I need your help. Child is currently failing. Let's put a plan into place so that child doesn't fail by the end of the 6 weeks. That's what a good teacher does. Now, teachers are overwhelmed right now, and even our best teachers sometimes forget to do that routine. So you may have to help them with that. That's why it's good for you to reach out and say, even, hey, teacher, I haven't heard from you. I haven't gotten a 3-week progress report yet. I want to know how Darling is doing and begin that conversation so Darling doesn't wind up 6 weeks behind instead of 3 weeks behind, right? Because you got it at the 6 weeks. So now teachers may say to you, hey, you need to go to the grade portal. And you may say, oh, I forgot my login for the grade portal, and I need to reach out to the school and get my login information. Okay, well, you can do that. You can reach out to the teachers, or maybe there's somebody that there, the IT guy, even call the receptionist and say, please ask the IT guy. Or maybe there's even a ticket. If you go online and you put in a ticket to get your login information for the grade portal. In my perfect world, what you parents will be doing every weekend is to sit down with your son or daughter, open the grade portal, look at the grades that are currently there, if there's any missing assignments, grades that aren't great. It helps with a conversation between you and your child, and then possibly an email to the teacher after you've had that conversation with your child about missing grades or low grades and so forth. All of that should be going on weekly, because if your child knows that he or she's going to be sitting down with you every week to look at grades, chances are they're going to hand that work in and maybe do it a little bit better, because they don't want to have that conversation with you Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon, whenever it is you guys schedule it. So that needs to be part of this time period's work. Let's see. So and your child has access to grade portals as well. It's not your grade portal as parent, but it's their own grade portal, and they could be showing you between the time it takes to get your login, your child can be showing you grades. Okay, so you're not held at the mercy of a teacher or a report card. Matter of fact, many schools don't send report cards home anymore. They expect you to go look at it online. And so understanding that and making that part of your everyday school year is part of your work as parents now. Let's see. So if your child is 504, special ed, dyslexia, speech therapy, you need to have the conversation first with your child. Have those services started. If your child is saying, no, I haven't started getting pulled for dyslexia work or speech therapy, burp, 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 that's an alarm. You need to send a teacher. If you have the dyslexia or speech therapy email, that's fantastic. But even if you don't, you send something to the teacher and say, hey, my child is telling me that her dyslexia, speech therapy, so forth, services have not started. It's already 4 weeks of school. I need to know when those are going to start and wonder why it's taking this long. And so there's that conversation back and forth, right? You're the advocate for your child. If they have reached out, then that's, again, the opportunity to send a thank you, make sure your child is maybe sending them a positive note. Thank you, dyslexia teacher. I always feel like a stronger reader after I've been with you, something like that. Teachers are human and they respond as well to nice notes as kids would, right? So, matter of fact, I read recently that administrators were really having to do a lot of social emotional work with teachers because they're getting quickly burned out. There's so much going on, home, not home, virtual, not virtual, all of that for the third year. And that they're doing things like writing positive notes for teachers as they go around and do walkthroughs and so forth. So teachers and kids both respond to positive notes. And the next thing and the last thing I'm going to chat about is make sure that that student communication piece is there. You know, that constant work that I do with y'all to encourage conversation between you and your kids. You can't wait. You can't put it off. It should be ongoing because remember, I don't know if you remember, some of you, we talked about that conversation around having talked about sex, consent, those sort of older kid conversations will come a whole lot more comfortably for both you and your child if you start the deep conversations early in your child's life. And so, not that you have to start talking about sex and consent when they're 3, but certainly being able to have kids talk with you comfortably about things that are awkward and, you know, having to do with people doing things they shouldn't do, kids doing things they shouldn't do, all of those things as they come up in current events, because they do, sometimes in family drama, sometimes on the news. Being able to have conversations with your kids around that so that you know and understand they're thinking on it. They understand that they can talk to you about it. That's a foundational part of parenting that many parents get too busy to do oftentimes or aren't comfortable doing. And yet your kids will be stronger adults if you do it. So the last piece I will leave you with is about social emotional checking, not only of your students, but of yourself. So for your students, are you watching them? And when they go to school, as far as are they going to school pretty happily? I mean, it's always a pain to get any child out of bed, right? But is it a normal kind of grudge? They just don't want to stop sleeping because they like their bed. But otherwise, once they're up, they get their clothes on, they get their stuff, they go eat a bite, and they get to the car without much fuss and bother. And they're doing that every day. Well, then sounds like things are good at school, right? But if you have a child, especially the middle school child that we all know has been the most impacted by COVID and depression, if you're seeing a real reluctance to put on the clothes, to get out of bed, they go to bed when they get home, then those are alerts that you need to be on the lookout for and possibly chat with not only possibly school counselor, but also a private counselor if necessary. So those are things to be on the watch out for. The very last thing, as our time runs out, is self-care for you. Are you remembering to model self-care for you in front of your kids? We talked a bit about this a couple of weeks ago, but making sure that your kids know why mom has to take that bubble bath for 20 minutes with the door locked, or mom's going to that exhibition at the gallery that came in town by herself, or maybe just with one child, because it refreshes her and it revives her. Dad goes to golf because he likes that and he's able to leave the work week behind. Those are self-care practices that we need to make sure our kids understand are that. And so as you model self-care for them, they will fall back when they're adults on self-care because they saw their parents giving themselves permission to do it. And they will give permission to themselves to do it, especially women who tend to put themselves last, nurturing everybody in the family but themselves. No, women, please, self-care. You will be a better parent if you self-care. All right, enough preaching again this week. I love that we had Neetu Rishi on again so that she could bring us her next book. And again, positive ways of getting our kids ready, our adults ready for professional life, strategies and what to do when we have maybe some politics going on in our professional life, which how to handle. You can't stop it, but you can learn how to handle those better. And then how to make sure that you're aligned with your school these first 4 weeks of school. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.